Honorable sisters, brothers, and friends, from memory, I jot down notes, items, and then I try to present them, of course, truthfully and in the first take. Because I'm not being braggadocio. I'm only human, no more or less than any other human. And the lighting, the projection from this little camera, all of this is just human nature, yours truly, and anyone that views. Now, in mathematical physics, I present, without side notes and footnotes, the valid mathematical physics proof of what I present. Now, in other disciplines, in theology, man's greatest challenge, that's my opinion, man's greatest challenge is the discipline of theology, the study of beliefs, all that is visible and invisible, etc. And the discipline, what's called maybe social science of who does what, when, where, why, and how. There is people in blogs on the internet. They don't put religion. They put education, and you have to put religion within education or maybe some other discipline or topic. I say that because cleverly they can still keep me, as far as real public, anonymous, still have what I put forward in science and inventions, absolute truth, proven now, worldwide use, worth billions. I do not lie. I did the original work and gave the name of Xerox, the photoelectric copier, and of light amplification stimulated electromagnetic radiation. Well, I'll say it again, light amplification stimulated electromagnetic radiation. I took EM waves, light. I amplified them by stimulating a ruby crystal that reinforced, and with an optical cavity, I obtained optical pumping. Prior futuristic, and that's what I said. This is the light amplification stimulated electromagnetic radiation is the multi-purpose, futuristic, multi-purpose coherent beam. And because I wasn't sure I could still live, survive, the first thing I did was to apply it for sightless people. Absolutely true facts. Now, 1. J. Edgar Hoover was a bent-over yes fellow for covering up the Teapot Dome scandal for President Coolidge. The Teapot Dome scandal was an early-day Watergate-type scandal. 2. Hoover obtained the info to give to MacArthur so he could ride in on horseback with his group, horseback, and destroy the veterans camp. They were in Washington because they were out of work and they were demanding their promised bonus money, the veterans' bonus money, and they needed that. There were deaths and many injuries. 3. A representative was arriving in Washington to give a speech exposing questionable Hoover and to say Hoover should be replaced. The trainee came into Washington, D.C., but he didn't get off the train. And when they went and looked for him, they found him. He was dead. You will notice the coincidences when it comes to Hoover being replaced, etc. 4. Special Agent Melvin Purvis was being hailed as the best FBI crime fighter. When they began saying that he should be the director instead of this questionable Hoover, Hoover got him out of the FBI. He was then found dead. Hoover said Purvis shot himself. Mrs. Purvis angrily stated that Hoover's report was a lie, that Mr. Purvis would not and did not abandon her and the children. 5. The secrets of the atom bomb were stolen out of Los Alamos, New Mexico. This was covered up by Hoover. In August 1947, the U.S. nuclear research came to an overnight top issue when yours truly called for a secret meeting at the University of Rochester, New York, Cyclotron building, where I presented and proved and strongly suggested a Super Manhattan Project at Los Alamos, New Mexico, to begin a hydrogen fusion bomb, 100 times plus or minus more powerful than the A-bomb. Estimates were voiced of 15 to 25 years before another country could duplicate. I was of the opinion in 5 years. When the A-bomb and then the H-bomb was duplicated in 4 years, obvious the secret projects at Los Alamos were being copied. Hoover is now on the hot seat. He lashed out and had the Rosenbergs executed. In my opinion, they were not executed for what Hoover publicized, stealing the A-bomb. It was concerning the H-bomb. But Hoover had to publicize stealing the A-bomb and not mention about the H-bomb. Anything anyone said or did against immoral, this fellow Hoover got back to him in Washington, and he had a secret file. See the PBS film, The Private Files of J. Edgar Hoover, by the son of a World War II Marine soldier that was killed, and his son idolized Hoover and then found out what Hoover really was like. The Private Files of J. Edgar Hoover. I've seen it at least 5 times and have a copy of it. Hoover then did onto yours truly what Hoover did to Agent Purvis. From the top analyst on the inside of Hoover's pyramid of power, you have to understand, Hoover had a pyramid of power with him at the top, at the point, and I revolved around this point, giving my opinion on various issues. Top work. But Hoover now, because of what I thought of his questionable morality and competence, and that he should be replaced, I was now an outcast superhero. However, on the inside of Hoover's pyramid of power, as I said, whatever came up, I would voice my opinion. Now, you have to realize that Hoover, well, being blunt, I say Homo Hoover because he was a homosexual. In fact, a pedophile. Now, I had suspected J. Edgar Hoover was a pass for white. He did not have a birth certificate. And Millie McGee, a school teacher, truthfully has videos in a book. And the title of the book is Secrets Uncovered, J. Edgar Hoover Passing for White by Millie McGee, capital MC, capital Ghee. She had an uncle who was murdered, and her father's brother, her father said that you cannot talk about Hoover, especially that he's from the Hoovers mixed with them that passed for white and was shipped up to Washington. You Google Millie McGee, etc. Now, in my opinion, Hoover had psychotic spells. I'll put it diplomatically. Hoover's father died from mental illness. In my opinion, Hoover was actually criminally insane because he was a liar, he was immoral, a grand theft artist, especially in my world-class science and inventions. He experimented Americans to death, men, women, and children. Absolutely true fact. And J. Edgar Hoover was the power to have President Kennedy assassinated. Hoover was the power investigator that ruled that the injuries to President Kennedy and Governor Connally were caused by a bullet, this pristine bullet, this magic bullet they found was pristine, and it's fired by a lone gunman. Therefore, it couldn't be a conspiracy. There were only 3 shots, and the third was from the 6th floor at a steep downward angle that hit Kennedy in the back of the head, but yet his skull and everything went backwards. You please note, in 1978, the United States House of Representatives Select Committee on Assassinations, the United States House of Representatives Select Committee on Assassinations, HSCA, their final report concluded that President Kennedy was, quote, very likely assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. They wrote that President Kennedy, that is their final result. Now, the Warren Commission was selected by Hoover secretly, and they said exactly what Hoover wanted them to say. 10. In my opinion, films, witnesses, etc. prove a conspiracy. And what is the actual fatal shot? It appears from the front, and the back of his head went back, and then Jackie reacted to try to get the brain matter to maybe put it back. They could keep him alive. So J. Edgar Hoover was the official investigator, and that's what he ruled, that President and Governor Connolly were killed by this bullet, this pristine bullet, by a lone gunman. And as I insist, and the House of Representatives said it's very likely it was a conspiracy, that liar, immoral, grand theft artist experimented Americans to death. He used even Nazi doctors in their reports on experimenting on people. And now Hoover, also anyone who wanted to replace him or he didn't like, he was prejudiced. If they tried to get that, in my opinion, criminally insane murder replaced, it seems that almost all of them, or all of them did, meet a violent death. Isn't that what these true facts demonstrate? If you have any doubt, read Official and Confidential, The Secret Life of Edgar Hoover by Anthony Summers, the movie JFK, and the many videos. Some I had about 500. I only now see that they disappeared, but I have some that cross the T's and dot the I's, absolutely prove what I now present, and that is Hoover, Homo Hoover, was the power behind having JFK assassinated and the power behind the supposed investigation regarding President Kennedy being murdered. And you can reference and view my videos.